My name is Chris Cook. I'm the Managing Director of the Office of Communication and Marketing at Texas Tech University and Texas Tech Public Media. Texas Tech University is full of great communicators, and together we hope to bring you perspectives and insight that can help you in your field. Communication is what we do every day, and it's intricately connected to our success and failures. This is Communicators in a Cart. Robert Giovannetti is the Senior Associate Athletic Director for External Operations. His career spans through all forms of media, including print, radio, and television. I had the good fortune of meeting Robert, then a member of the media, when I was working in athletics.
Come in.
Let's go grab some coffee.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
Do I need my keys?
Unless you got something to steal in here.
Take them anyway. We're going to get coffee.
Okay, see ya.
All right, see ya. I've never gotten a chance to ride in this car.
You've not ridden in this?
Never ridden in it. I've always looked at it. I've always
admired
coveted it.
Well, here you go.
You've got pretty good at driving this thing. Does it have pretty good speed?
It's got good speed. The steering's loose, but when you do have to turn hard, it has zero power steering. And since you're in athletics now, that's engineering.
You know, the funny thing is, one time on a game day or something, or before early, and I couldn't find anything open, and I had to use the restroom, and I found a restroom in there that I could use.
Birds chirping.
If that wasn't a sound effect, that really wasn't.
No, it was real.
Here's your office, admin building.
Digs on the left. Some people call it it's kind of Buckingham Palace of campus. Some people call it the Death Star. I don't know why, but you get a little bit of both.
Like, where do you park it now?
Well, you know, I'm gonna pull up on this sidewalk. I don't know if it's legal.
But if they think the president parked
Well,
it
it says Office of the President on it, so I think
no one's gonna do anything.
Yeah, I think we're okay.
Do you take the key out of it?
I do. Even though the students are gone, that doesn't mean a prankster doesn't hang around.
Do you think I could drive it home?
Yeah.
Are you buying this?
Yeah, I'll buy.
What are you getting? You first.
I'm just getting a small, whatever the Pike.
There are no
So what
students.
you're telling me, that cookie may have been there.
No, I made those.
Oh, you made those this morning. They look excellent.
That is a
I'm not gonna have
gigantic cookie too.
Really good.
What a good dad bringing a cookie home. Wouldn't buy me one, but if you cross university to go to Starbucks on foot, which I do sometimes, not to go to Starbucks, but maybe to go somewhere.
Life in your own hands.
It's like playing Frogger.
It is Frogger.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hey, that's great service.
Thanks.
Y'all are so friendly. Thank you.
Now I've got to sweeten mine up.
All right, he's gonna sweeten his up. I'm gonna drink mine like a man. I don't know if you remember this, when we first bought the magazine, we took you to lunch at Jazz. Do you remember that?
I do remember Jazz Lunch, and you had the stash.
I had a goatee.
Goatee?
Yes, I had a
Oh, I thought
goatee.
you were just stoked.
Yeah, I had a goatee, and yeah, went to Jazz, and you were actually telling me at the time that I guess Coach Knight was coming in, and that he had asked you to just handle his
Yes.
stuff, and you were kind of considering that, and you decided to stick with being the.
Well, you know, I was right off my second year here, and the person who hired me left. The person who replaced him left after 9 months. And, you know, I think it's probably just Gerald tossing his hands up. I'm done bringing people in here.
It's not working out. Go ahead.
And he asked me when we brought Coach Knight in, he said, look, I'm going to give you a chance to, you'd like to be my guy, but you can't run the department. And
So
I
you wanted to run
just
the
gotten that
department. You
opportunity.
were power hungry.
Yeah, I was sure
Yes,
power hungry. We all
yeah.
are. And I just got that opportunity. And I said, you know, I don't want to give that up. And I wanted to be around a football program, and it was, I had that opportunity.
And when we bought that magazine, started that magazine, it wasn't like it is now where you can just go to the website and find, okay, I'm going to contact this person, this person. It took Steve Urish at the time, who I dealt with on that side, and so he said, hey, you ought to get to know this Chris Cook guy, and he's in charge, and so that's where it led to there. So we took you to lunch, and the rest is history.
Let's look at your career for a minute. Now, I only met you in '01. Or right there shortly after Coach Knight was hired. Mm-hmm. That's when I met you. I got here in '99, but you've been here, you grew up here.
Grew up in Lubbock and went to Christ the King High School. I grew up being a Tech fan and wanted to go here, and I kind of thought a little bit about going somewhere else, and then my mother died when I was in high school, and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna stay close to home. And so went to Tech, and then we all have big dreams, right? We're gonna go do this or go do that. It just turned out, just through a series of going from one job to the next, I just always stayed here after that.
That's interesting you say that. I didn't realize that you thought about maybe venturing out outside of Lubbock and elsewhere. But I think people would agree, just by you staying here, you look back at the fan experience, not from an athletic department standpoint,
right,
but from the standpoint of being informed, but from the standpoint of being involved. and bringing fans closer to the programs. Not to say it wouldn't have happened had you left Lubbock and not come back, but because you stayed, there's a lot of interaction and a lot of, I think, connectivity between the fans and our football program, especially because of some of the work you did early on.
You know, it's funny, and I've actually had this conversation with people about when we first started, when I started the magazine, and realized pretty quickly, and this was again in the early 2000s, you can't have them, if you want to connect with the fans, it's not going to be, you know, the magazine has been great, and the magazine still exists to this day, but if you wanted to go bigger, at the time, and now it seems so easy now, but at the time we thought, got to go digital, got to have something online, got to go online presence, and there had just been nothing like that. And so when we started it, and then I met Chris Level and hired Chris Level and formed a partnership with him, and we started doing things that at the time were unheard of, right? We'd bring a camera to practice, and we'd shoot practice, and we'd do a post-game practice report and things. And it was funny because the old established media that had all been around were thinking, who are these guys?
I heard from them.
Yes, right. I mean, what are these guys doing? What are they shooting video for? And we started a radio show, and I would have well-known Lubbock advertising people say to me, you're an idiot. You guys can't break into this. You got the established guys already doing this. And it wasn't like I was an accountant who decided this is what I wanted to do. I'd been in media throughout. I'd worked at television stations. I'd worked for a multimedia production company. So it wasn't like I just stumbled into this. So I knew kind of what I was doing. And we just had to convince a lot of people. And you know, a lot of people, we got to tell them, I told you so too, that when we became successful.
I think y'all were one of the early models.
Yes.
I think Notre Dame had one early, and there was someone else that had one that was popular, but ours, I say ours, yours really took off and became one of the...
It took off, and it had good numbers. You know, the bigger schools are always going to have more subscribers.
Of course.
But for what the size that we were and what we were doing, so we would go to the Rivals National Convention and they'd point to what we were doing because, again, it's almost impossible to believe this now, but because now you find, you know, video and everything everywhere, but nobody was doing any of that. I mean, none of the other rival sites were doing it. We were and the reason we did it is because we had the equipment. We said, hey, we've got these video cameras that we use to produce these programs. Let's use it for this, and let's go shoot practice. Let's shoot these shows, and let's do all this other stuff. And it just built from there. So it really was, we worked hard, and we didn't take anything for granted. And I think you still see that with the guys that run that site to this day. They don't take it for granted because you can see how quickly it can turn also. Because people sometimes, and you're one of them, you make fun of me for having a lot of different jobs, but really this all kind of built up.
I'm jealous of your diversity.
Built up on each other. We were doing a daily radio show. We had our production company that we're still doing, that we were doing, you know, regular work with, had the magazine, and then one day, Larry Hayes, who was the baseball coach at the time, he called our show, and I thought, oh gosh, I've somehow offended Coach Hayes. But he asked me to be the baseball play-by-play announcer, and I'd never done it. And he gave me a warning, hey, people are gonna hate you, and which is true because I was replacing a very beloved person who went on to do something else. And so it was a tough process. I had other radio guys on air insulting me on air, you know, all those things. And you just have to develop a thick skin. But I started doing that and got involved with baseball, and I did baseball on the radio for 5 years. And then because our radio station was at Raymar Communications, which also owns a TV station, Brad Rand gave me a chance to be the sports director there. So I was doing television. So one time I had the radio show, television show. I was hosting a show for tech. You know, again, had the radio broadcast, and plus my other real businesses. And that's really why I kind of got out of it from that standpoint, because I just got burned out. You know, I was going to work basically 7 in the morning and working till basically 11 o'clock at night, because you work at news, you got to put your stories up on the website afterwards. I just said uncle. I just had too much. And so that's how I ended up over here at Texas Tech, because I talked to Chancellor Hance, and he ended up hiring me and giving me a job.
Right, and from Chancellor Hance, you did that for a while, became director of station manager at KTTZ, but also director of Texas Tech Public Media, which included KTTZ 89.1, NPR station, and
which I had all that for the Chancellor.
Right,
and they were reporting to me with the Chancellor, and he'd always, you know, we'd go to lunch or something. He'd go, "When are you going to hire somebody to take over that television radio station. And I'd kind of put it off and put it off. And then one day I had to take him to the airport early in the morning. And we were driving. He goes, "Hey, I want to talk to you about that TV and radio station." And I said, "Chancellor, I'm going to find somebody, I promise." And he said, "Well, no, I was going to tell you that I'm going to retire. I'm going to announce that retirement here coming up in the next couple months." And he said, "So do you think that you want to stay and do that, or you want to try to take a chance with whoever the new guy or lady is going to be?" And I loved working with the public media people. And then look, there's a little bit of security too, because I talked to President Ellis. Right. And President Ellis was a big supporter, and he told me he wanted me to do it. And so I went with the sure thing, right? I said, I don't know who the next chancellor is going to be. I don't know if he'll hire me or she'll hire me or keep me. And so, and plus we'd already built something good at the TV and radio, so I went to work for President Ellis. And so Chancellor Hans gave me that opportunity to, which do you want to do? And he said, "I'll support you either way." And then that led to, doing what I did at the public broadcast for a couple of years.
You're a few months in to athletics, working in athletics. You've survived your first football season.
Yeah,
Your
far.
first home game
Right.
so far. Now you're in basketball season. But what I want to talk about is your experiences. You talked about those, and you have an opportunity to teach students and to share your experiences through the College of Media and Communication, which I think is hugely beneficial, especially in the class you teach, because you can branch into so many different things, and I think they come out of there. I've not heard one student that's taken that class that has said anything disparaging. They come out of there truly inspired. Well, they're not telling me that, but no, I think they're truly inspired. They're excited and they're fired up to get out there and work.
My first teaching job, Todd Chambers, back in 2004, he was going through some health issues, and he was teaching this broadcast sales class, and he asked me to teach it. And so I taught it, and there was things like in the book, the 7 C's of sales and this kind of thing. And I would tell him, "Look, that's great. This is good for test information for me, but I've been a salesman. Here's what you need to know. Here's what you need to do. Applying real world.
There's reality."
Things. And I'm not saying that, the faculty does a great job, and I'm not saying it's any different. I just tried to give them an experience from what I did in my life. And now I'm teaching this broadcast or electronic media operations class, which is, web, radio, television, newspaper, all those things, which again, I've got, experience in almost all of those things. And so on top of that, on management, the other things I like to try to teach my classes too every time is about just emotional intelligence, because we both seen sometimes, not just college students, just regular adults that lack emotional intelligence. So I always try to fit some emotional intelligence into class students to tell them, just be aware of your surroundings, understand what other people are thinking, be empathetic. All these things that I think you have to learn, how to handle yourself in an interview, and how to handle yourself when you're dealing with your boss or just your colleagues. That's just some of these things you would think are just kind of common sense, but they're not.
Well, back real quick before we wrap up, when you talk about taking a risk of going into athletics, taking that chance, because your respect for Kirby, and Kirby he has a ton of respect, but you do too. And I think your reputation is very well founded in Lubbock, Texas. People know who Robert Giovannetti is. People know him by Robert Giovannetti, Dr. G, the Rob Father, Robert.
Sometimes I have to go Rob Father. That's not good. That's not a good thing.
When you go Rob Father, there's a problem. Yes. And your risk in athletics is probably not a risk at all. I think you're going to do well over there.
Well, I appreciate it. And again, Kirby is I knew, I've known Kirby for a while, since he's been here and working with him. And so talking to him before he hired me, I liked what he had to say, and and Kirby does a great job of seeing the bigger picture and understanding there's more than just the games on the field. He's great with the student athletes. I learned a lot from him already, and just about how he treats the student athletes and how he treats the employees. And one of the things that he says is do the right thing. He wants us to do the right thing, which who can't endorse that, right? We all want to do the right thing. And so the thing that I've always done, I learned this from my father early on, and Chancellor Hans always says it the best, is, I said this at a lunch I was at a couple weeks ago. I got this from Chancellor Hans, the saying, I've lived by it, but there's always going to be somebody better looking than you. There's always going to be somebody who has more money than you. There's always somebody who dresses better than you, but we all get the same 24 hours in a day. And
That's
you can control you can control what you do with those 24 hours. If you want to work for 12, knock yourself out. If you want to work for 5, well, then accept the consequences. And so I've always tried to live by that motto and outwork people. don't take anything for granted, and which serves me well in athletics. When I come over to athletics, I don't ask the people that work for me to do anything that I wouldn't do. I don't want to, hey, you guys stay up here till 9 and I'll be home watching television. I want to stay there with them. I want to work the same number of hours they do and try to make an impact. And Kirby's like that too. He understands that you've got to work hard, and the way he treats us, and he's so well thought of just nationally. And so I've got a lot to learn, and I'm always trying to learn. And again, I think it's going to be a good ride, I believe.
Robert, thanks.
Thank you very much.
It's been
Thanks for
good.
the coffee.
Absolutely.